Hello everybody, this is Jane's Videos, and this is Nightmare House 2020 The Experiments Haunt Build Day 7. I've been trying to make this build video for a couple days now. Not saying that things were done over the past couple days that you guys didn't see, but I was assuming things would be done over the past couple days. But we had to go get haunt supplies, and we had stuff come up, you know. But yeah, I didn't really get too much done recently, but I was assuming stuff would get done, so I've made this intro. This is my third time making this intro because I thought stuff would be done those days, but they weren't. But today I know for a fact we are getting stuff done because Halloween is next week. And so, yeah, for a fact stuff is getting done today. I know it may seem like I'm a bit behind because last year I had giant structures built at this point, but obviously that was because last year was a farm theme. I needed big farm structures. This year's a laboratory theme. I don't need any big structures. Most of what goes into the haunt is setting it up and detailing it. And so I am not worried at all that this stuff will be done by Halloween. We've still got about 2 weeks left. It's not full 2 weeks. It's about 2 weeks, and it's about a week and 7 days, I believe. So almost 2 weeks, but not 2 weeks yet. So there's 12 days. But yeah, then it's not a week and 7 days. No, it's like a week and 5 days. I don't know, whatever, screw it. I'm not good with math, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but it's 12 days until Halloween. I'm not worried about it getting done. But before I get into any builds today, how about I show you some stuff that I did do that just wasn't enough to make full build videos on. First off, I got these in the mail, my Froggy's Fog. So I got Swamp Juice, the best fog on the market, and I also got the Fog Sense. So this year, if you guys remember last year, since last year's haunt was a farm theme, I used campfire and chainsaw. Obviously, I can't reuse those ones this year because this year is a laboratory theme, so I got some new ones to fit this year's theme. I got hospital and mildew because I feel like those would work well. Hospitals typically have the same type of smell as a laboratory does. In the hospital fog scent doesn't smell exactly like how I'd envision a hospital, but I don't want it to smell like a hospital. I wanted it to smell like a laboratory, and I just assumed hospital would kind of smell like a laboratory, and it does still. Though it doesn't smell like a hospital, it still smells like a laboratory, and that's what I wanted it for, so it's fine. Mildew smells perfect. It's a very unpleasant smell, but it's not bad to the point where you just can't be around it, which is, I was hoping that it wouldn't be like that because I can't have people just be like, oh, I can't smell that, and not want to come in the haunt, or my actors not like it, or me not like it since I guide people through. It's good that it's unpleasant because I wanted a bad smell, but it's not to the point where you can't handle it. It's like sensory overload unpleasant, which is great. Froggy's Fog always is great with the fog sense. I can't wait to try these ones out and use them in the haunt this year. The hospital one's going in the second half of the haunt, the sci-fi lab, and the mildew's going in the first half of the haunt, the steampunk lab. So that's what's going on there. Now let me also show you. If you saw the most recent haunt film, you'll know that Plague Doctor was put in his spot. I love him right here. I think people are going to get a kick out of him this year because of the virus and everything. But he looks great. He's right when guests turn the corner from Reanimated Corpse and, of course, Razortail. And he is right there, and I love it. Also, that wall was finally fixed and put in its place, which is good. I know they're a bit uneven right now. That's because the divider wall's going in today, and I don't really have them exactly in the right spot that they're going to be. Well, they're in the right spot, but evened out how they're supposed to be because I don't know if I'm going to need to even cover this up once the divider wall's there. Most likely not, so this isn't even an issue. This gap isn't an issue. I still got to figure out how to cover up this gap here because these two are a little bit uneven at the top and the bottom. The top is smaller than the bottom, and so in order to cover up the top, it's got to overlap at the bottom, which I don't like how that looks, but we'll figure it out. One thing I want to say, just because I said this last year, I mean, not last year, what am I saying? Just because I said this yesterday, what a big difference there. I don't know how I got last year and yesterday mixed up. But what I said yesterday when I tried to make this intro was, it's such a coincidence that I'm doing a laboratory theme, the year of the virus, because laboratories a lot of times are where viruses come from. And it just works, especially since I've got the Plague Doctor in it and stuff. I didn't plan this out. I have my theme plans for each year planned before each Halloween. I have what I'm going to do the next year already planned, the theme I'm going to do. Like this year, I have my next year theme already planned out, even though this year is still 12 days until the actual haunt. I already have next year's planned out just because I have to be ready for when Halloween is over, which We don't want that, but I'm excited for Halloween itself, so I'm not even worried about it, because the whole point of the season is to get excited for the actual day. So I'm ecstatic that it's almost Halloween, but when Halloween is over, so I can get into planning next year, I have to have them ready about a whole year before. So right now I don't even have blueprints or layout in my mind. Of course, I never get blueprints or layout in my mind until like June of the year. Like this year I didn't release the blueprint video until June. That's typically when I get that in my mind. I just have the theme set out each year in October. It's not a big deal, but so I know what my next year theme is. Last year when I was doing the farm theme, I knew in October of last year that this year I'd be doing a laboratory. That was way before the virus even existed, so the reason I brought that up is because I did not plan this out. I didn't do a laboratory because of the virus. I did a laboratory, and then there's just so happened to be a virus, which kind of works well with laboratories, because laboratories also have the same type of aesthetic as hospitals. I don't know, it just kind of falls under that same type of thing. It just works. It's a very big coincidence that that happened, because I didn't plan this out at all. I just decided to do a laboratory this year because I was like, I love laboratory themes. I want to do one. I have enough props to do one. Let's do a laboratory. And so, also because it fits into haunt lore and stuff, that to do a laboratory this year. But yeah, I didn't plan it out at all. So it's very weird that a virus happened. But anyways, Halloween's in 12 days, so let's get to work. Oh, also, this isn't a part of the haunt, but I just want to show it. Just because, why not? I picked this thing up yesterday at Home Depot. This is the... I'm not too big into inflatables, but when I see one, I do like inflatables, I just never really get them. But when I see one that I really like, I want it. I don't like inflatables too much, because I feel like when you have too many inflatables in your yard, it looks kind of bad. I'm more into actual props and decor and stuff than inflatables, but I think having one inflatable is perfectly fine, one or two. Personally, I'd only have one. But I saw this one, I just couldn't pass it up because it's a plague doctor. You guys know I love plague doctors. But also, I feel like it'll be a perfect way to advertise the haunt from the street, because the haunt this year is obviously a laboratory theme, and there's the plague doctor prop in it, because I feel like plague doctors can work well with laboratories, because they're doctors, and they have to deal with the plague, which, like I said, viruses have a bit to do with laboratories in a way, and they fit the aesthetic of the haunt too. And so I thought it would be a perfect way to advertise this year's haunt, as well as I feel like it'll draw people's eye because it's a giant plague doctor during the virus. So even if they don't come into the haunt and get to see the actual plague doctor prop, I feel like it'll still be very fitting. And I love plague doctors too, but really I feel like it'll be a really good way to advertise the haunt. I'm obviously going to have signs everywhere in my city to advertise it, and I've got, actually I want to thank a company named Tampa Bay Haunted Houses who put the haunt on their website. I want to thank them a lot, because hopefully that'll get a lot more people to come. I always get hundreds and hundreds of people, but with the virus this year I'm a little bit nervous about. There will be some less trick-or-treaters. I still think that people are going to trick-or-treat. I just think there might be a little bit less, so I can use as much advertising as I can to get more guests. And I especially want this year to be even bigger than ever before, because it's what's going to be the best year of the haunt to date, in my opinion, I think. So yeah, I mean, last year was the best year in my opinion to date and stuff like that, but now this year I think is definitely taking the cake for that. But yeah, I feel like it'll be a very good way to advertise from the street, to let people know, hey, there's something down here. Obviously, the thing is, there's going to be signs up around the city that say, it's not going to say Nightmare House 2020 The Experiments, because that's way too long to put on a sign. It's going to just say The Experiments Haunted House, give the address, give the date, give the time, and then say that face masks are required. And so when people see the signs and they see like arrows pointing towards my neighborhood and stuff, if they see this giant plague doctor, they'll probably think, oh, maybe that's where the haunted house is because of this giant thing. So yeah, most people are usually able to tell where the haunt is because we're the most decorated house. But I think the plague doctor is a good way to advertise it, because he's huge, he's 12 feet tall, so you'll be able to see him from the street, and he fits on theme, and I just really like him. I don't have him up right now because it just started raining, so I'm gonna put him up as soon as the rain stops, and I'll have him up tonight. And I'll show him to you guys, because though he isn't a part of the haunt itself, I'm using him to advertise the haunt, so I think I might as well show him. Okay, so basically this is what's been done so far. The containment unit walls have started being put up. There's 3 for the only 3 on this outer area, because that's an exit and that's an entrance to the containment unit. So here they are. Now my only issue is they bend a bit because they are sandwiched in between the floor and roof to hold them in place because they're the same height, and that makes it a lot easier to hold them in place, but they do bend a bit. So I'm gonna have to figure, I don't know, I might just have to deal with the bend. Honestly, it's not that big of a deal. It's just kind of annoying, but it's not that big of a deal because I can just put stuff in front of it, then it won't be noticeable. So it's not that big of a deal. So you got 3 of those up. Not too much, but it's good that the containment unit is at least being started on. And then you have this one up on this side, which these ones have to be put up with clamps because they don't get sandwiched in between the roof and the ceiling, because those things are what does it, and then when it's going this way it doesn't work that way. So they need clamps, and so the ones on the edge here can have the clamps right here, but these ones will need bigger clamps to go around that whole thing, so we can't do those tonight. But I'm definitely happy that the containment unit walls have started being put up. There's going to be adjustments made, hopefully, to make them not bend as much, but it's a start on the containment unit, which is what I'm happy about. Now we're going to get out here. Let's see. Alright. So this wall was finally finished being carved by my mom, and she painted one side. The other side is not painted yet, but that'll be done. Well, part of it is, but it's not spray painted yet, so it can dry. That'll be done tomorrow, so it can go up tomorrow. I don't even know if I'm going to dry brush it, because I don't know. Halloween's only 12 days away. I don't know if I have time for that. But, here, this one is almost done being spray painted, the back side. I don't even know if I'm going to use spray paint, though. Spray paint really wastes a lot of it. My mom said she's just going to use the paint roller and do that for me. But this, I'm really happy with. This is one of the containment unit walls. I decided for a few of the containment unit walls, like in the insect containment section and the alien one, I'm going to have slime on them. I like this a lot, so I use the splatter technique where you put it into the lid and you kind of like throw it at it and it kind of splatters. That's the same thing I did on the razor tail wall for the blood. And then I put some at the top there, leaned it up and let it drip. And I really like this. I think this is cool, and that's a black light room, so I think it's going to look really, really cool. So yeah, you can kind of get a look at the containment unit walls from the back there. Obviously the backs of those ones do not need to be painted because no one's going to see that. So that's a good thing. So yeah, that's what's being done. All this stuff for the containment unit just kind of laid around right now, laying around. Don't really know where to put it until I put it in its place. While I put up the walls, they're kind of in the way, but we'll work around it. We'll see what happens. So that's all that. So happy with what's been done so far. I don't know how much more is going to get done tonight. I actually thought it was a lot later than it is. I thought it was like 8 or 9 p.m. It's only 7:30. I thought it was a lot later because it just feels like we've been out here longer, but then again, it started raining, and we had rain today, and so it was darker out because it was cloudy, so I guess that just made my mind think that it was already getting dark out when it really wasn't. So we still got about an hour or two to work today. I don't know how many. We're gonna see what gets done. We'll see what happens. So the slime wall has been put up. Like I said, it's got a bit of a bend to it, but it's not too bad. You can mostly only notice it when you're looking at it from this angle, but no one's ever going to see it from that angle because they're going to walk into that scene from this angle, and they're only going to look at it head on. So I like this. Pretty freaking cool. I love how it turned out with the slime. I like it a lot. That's really cool. Looks very laboratory-like. So right here is my giant insect humanoid creature, and I'm pretty happy with it. He's pretty horrifying. He's tall. He's taller than Boogeyman if you want to. He's over 7 feet tall for sure. I have Boogeyman next to him, which is why I mentioned Boogeyman, but he's over 7 feet tall for sure. He's pretty scary. So I like him quite a bit. What this guy is, basically, as you guys know, the whole haunt is a laboratory theme, but the second half of the haunt is a sci-fi laboratory, whereas the first half is a steampunk laboratory. Reason why? Same mad scientist built them on the same grounds. He just built them at different time periods because he's been alive for hundreds of years because of immortality. So he built his original lab in the 1800s, and that's the first half of the haunt, but when new technology came out in the 20th century, in the 1950s, he built onto the lab, made it bigger, and that's where the sci-fi lab takes into account. So this is just one of his horrifying experiments. I'd say it's probably one of his lab workers because of the lab suit that he turned into a strange bug creature. I think this thing's pretty horrifying. It might actually be my favorite prop I've made this year so far. It is terrifying in so many ways, and I love it. The fly mask is really to thank for its horrific appearance. Mac let me borrow this mask. It's probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite masks ever made. It's so horrifying, and I love it. I love the hair on it and stuff. It's super creepy. And then you've got, I used toe tag corpse's feet for this, which work because, I mean, he's this weird alien bug creature, so it works as hands, but I use his feet for this, and it looks pretty creepy. Obviously, since I have 2 toe tag corpses this year, because Mac's letting me borrow his, I'm using mine as a human, I'm using his as an alien, because I feel like both will work for the haunt, so I can have 2. I decided to use mine's alien feet for this, and I did spray paint them a bit, which I might regret that in the future, but it's whatever, because I feel like they will add, because this scene's going to be blacklit, so I think I kind of need to do that in a way to add to the creepy atmosphere of this scene. You've also got, I spray painted that part a little bit, so you've got those hands, then you've got this lab coat here, which I've used in the past for, I used it in 2018 for my asylum inmate, and then I used it last year for that asylum inmate, but since last year was a farm-themed haunt, obviously, and since, well, in 2018 it was a hell-themed haunt, basically, but that's when I did multiple themes, so I had an asylum as one of the themes, whereas last year, obviously, as you guys know, I transitioned to only doing one theme. Last year was all a farm theme, this year's all a laboratory theme, so last year I didn't have a use for it in the haunt, so I just put it in my front yard, but this year I have a use for this lab coat, but since it's the whole haunt is a laboratory theme, whereas last year was the whole haunt was a farm theme, this year's the whole haunt's a laboratory theme. You guys know this by now, but just doing a quick recap in case you're new. This I did add, I had blood on it from before, but I did add green by splattering it and spray painting it a bit, and I think it really adds to it. Now these pants I'm not very happy with, but they're going to have to do. I'm just going to put something in front of it anyways so that it'll cover it, so who cares at that point. This thing's horrifying. I love it. Like I said, it's over 7 feet tall, so that just makes it even better. I'm really, really happy with how it turned out, and I really like it against that backdrop there. I think once the lighting is done in this scene, and all the walls are up in the scene, and once this scene is done, this might be one of my favorite scenes, simply because this guy is so creepy. But anyways, that's going to do it for today's haunt builds. Quite a bit was done today, and I'm really happy with the progress that was done. Stay tuned for tomorrow, because a lot more will be done. I hope you all enjoyed. Keep howling at the moon, my werewolves.
See you next time, friend.